Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a video going through how I get my ideas and my art process. So let's get into the video. So the first thing I do is get an idea. Now I won't be showing this process because I'm just going to talk about it and I'm going to show me kind of figuring out what I'm going to do for the drawing and illustration I'm doing. So the way I get my ideas is often I will go on social media, sometimes Instagram, Pinterest or something, and I will look at things kind of interest me. And a lot of my ideas of the way I do this is from other artists that I've seen online, but a lot of my art has like an emotion I feel behind it, and often not very literal. So it's kind of like sort of, I've forgotten the word, but so I have an emotion, say, I don't know, happiness or something, and I'll kind of look up happiness in Google or like happiness paintings or something like that. And I'll look at the kind of things that come up with people, things that are associated with that word. Or sometimes I will just scroll through Pinterest and I'll see something I like, or like I'll see a picture that I like and I'm just like, oh, I like that, and I like this part of that. So like I saw a YouTuber and she was making a video and she was painting a snake and I was like, I like that snake. So I was like, oh, what could I do with that? Like, I like the snake, but like, what do I do? And then I was thinking, and like I have a friend who really likes daggers, and I was like, oh, the snake could be curling in a dagger. So that was kind of my thought process for this. But a lot of the time I will like look up, like some of my paintings I'll have looked up things that are associated with this motion and I kind of created that. But basically, I think it depends what you're going for. If you're going for mainly aesthetic purposes, look up things you like and look at art that you like, and then think about the things that you like about that art. Like, what parts of it do you like? The colors they use in there, or do you like the way they drew that thing? And try and point out, and then you can kind of use that in your own art. Just don't copy exactly, but you know, if you like more emotional pieces where it's like you're displaying an emotion through your art, try looking for things that are normally associated with the emotion you're trying to portray. So, like I said, if it's happiness, a lot of time light and summer things. If you're sadness, a lot of times like oceans and water, things like that. So yeah, but another thing, all the time, I don't like saying what the emotion of the piece is, or like what I was thinking when putting this in, because obviously the person who's looking at it can see what they think about it as well. Yeah, that's how I get my idea, and then it's onto drawing. And for the actual part, I normally sketch things out a bit first, and I normally don't show that on camera, but generally I will sketch out trying to see what do I like, how do I want it put on the canvas, how do I want it, and sometimes I will just go straight onto the piece of paper I'm doing the final illustration on. I will just go straight in and just sketch it out and just put it in. And sometimes when I'm a little bit less sure, like say I'm doing something I don't draw very often, like snakes or daggers, or maybe I'm doing something that needs a little bit more like placing, like I need to get the right placement for each object or something, then I'll do a sketch and I'll kind of just put my ideas down. Sometimes I'll have multiple sketches. For this one I only had one, but so I'll do multiple sketches and kind of like figure out where I want this piece, where do I want the snake to go, how do I want it tilted, where do I want the dagger to be, do I want them to interact or do I want them to be separate, and kind of going towards each other. So that kind of thing, I'll just sketch out many ideas. And one thing, if you have an idea and you're like, I'm not sure about that, try and sketch it out anyway, like in the initial sketches, and then you might get an idea from that. Like maybe you don't like it, like you're like, nah, I don't like it, but like it might still be useful to know what it looks like. Another thing, I sometimes sketch in watercolor pencils when I'm doing watercolor pieces, because then I can like wash it out and like blend it in, and kind of it doesn't look grey and muddy. But like normal pencils are fine as well, because they still work and you can rub them out. But I like using watercolor pencils for some things. I actually, when I was sketching this on, I was really, really happy with my initial sketch. I was like, I really like that. I wish it was on the original piece and the final piece. But like, I wasn't that happy with how my snake came out. The snake sketch on second, when I did the final part. This sometimes happens to me, but I'm very happy with how the final painting turned out. I'm really happy with how that worked. Basically, and I decided when I'd finished sketching it out to put in the watercolor to start with the dagger. I normally start with, if I'm doing a person, which I haven't done in a while, because I talked about this in my last video actually, so I'm not going to mention it. But generally, when I'm doing people, I'll start with the clothes, and then I'll move on to the hair, and then I'll do the face. But this, I was like, well, the main thing is the dagger, I think, because the snake's pretty important as well. It would be a bit boring with just the dagger. But I feel like snake is the most important part. So I feel like the dagger is the most important part. I'm not sure. I think the snake's pretty important as well. I don't quite like how the snake twirls around the dagger at the top either. Sorry, I'm just moaning now. But yeah, dagger is the most important part. So I started putting greys and kind of adding the colour. Because I actually didn't have an idea of what colours I wanted to make this going into it. I just knew that I kind of wanted it to be kind of realistic-ish colours. But also, like, I wanted to use red, because red and green, and also like red symbolizes danger, and I feel like a dagger also symbolizes danger. So I felt red and the dagger would work together. When I was pretty happy with how my dagger was working, I was like pretty happy with how it looked. It didn't have highlights or shading yet, but the base colours were good. I decided to go into the snake. Now, hadn't planned this either, but I had an idea of what colour I wanted the snake to be. Originally I was thinking like maybe I should do it like a more fantastical colour, like a purple or red or something like that. And I felt like not red, because I already have red in the dagger and I feel like it's enough red. And I feel like I use purple a lot. So I was like, well, I do use green a lot, but like I feel like green would work. So I got like a bluey green shade. And obviously I'm doing this in watercolour if you haven't figured that out. And I did it. And I quite like the shade. I was really unhappy with how the jaw part of the snake head was working. That's not my favourite part of the drawing. It's a little bit irritating. I don't like it that much, and I've said about 50 million times already, and I've been talking for about 10 minutes. Yay. But I wanted to shade in that part, but I didn't know quite how to do it and how to like make the tongue look right and everything like that. So I started by shading parts of the snake that I thought would have shading on it. And by the way, I did have a reference for this. I always recommend references. They're very, 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 very important. I said very way too much. But I said again. But yeah, I think having a reference definitely does help. I would definitely not have been able to draw a snake without one. And I did use a tiny bit for the shading, but most of the shading I kind of made up because I felt like the shading would go there, right? Because it's curved there. And yes, it's not atomically correct at all. And I also don't know, I have believed reptiles generally have a slightly different coloured stomach. So that was partly what I was doing there as well. And I also wanted to make the mouth kind of reddish. So I added just a little bit more red to tie everything in. And the eyes are red. And I went over the teeth a bit, but they're supposed to be white. And then it was just detail stuff, which I generally quite like doing. Like just tiny little details. And tiny shading. I do, like, I like details to a certain part, and then I get a bit bored. So, my drawings aren't generally that detailed. I have a lot of fun doing this. And another thing, I filmed this over multiple days as well, so the lighting changes. We already skipped that lighting change, but I felt like I should mention it. The lighting changed. I believe I forgot to switch on my lights, so it was just natural lighting. And then it was highlights. I love the highlights. It's really fun. I know you're not supposed to use white watercolor, but I have white watercolor, and I do use it. And if I didn't have white watercolor, I'd probably use white acrylic, because I can't plan that far ahead and don't have that much control to keep out exactly the white parts. So and after adding just a tiny bit more extra detail and fiddling around with what I had, I was finished. Or finished filming. I did add some stuff after. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Tell me any tips or comments or thoughts down in the comments. And I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye!